Welcome to the Voices of Young People podcast, brought to you by Springtide Research Institute. In each episode, we hear directly from young people as they respond to our research and share about the issues impacting their lives. As sociologists and researchers, we see a new story unfolding for young people, one that moves beyond traditional institutional boundaries and requires careful attention to the inner and outer lives of emerging generations. At the intersection of being and becoming, it's the Voices of Young People.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Season 7 of the Voices of Young People podcast. My name is Marta Abawaji. I'm the head of community engagement at Springtide, and I'm so thrilled to bring you this brand new season, Season 7, where we are talking to 16 different young people. They're between the ages of 14 and 25, and they're spread all throughout the country. But each episode, we have two young people in conversation with one another about mental health. This season coincides with our Mental Health and Gen Z series. And we're so grateful to have two young people today who are going to share about their own experiences and their own perceptions of mental health and what type of people they turn to dig into a situation for themselves or maybe to help a friend. And these two young men are in sunny states. They're mostly sunny for the most part. They'll tell you more about them. But they're in two very different regions, different time zones as we record this. But I'm so pleased to have George and Joe with us today. George, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is George. I'm 23 years old, currently living in Florida, one of the two sunny states here. Currently in grad school for theology, and I also work in ministry full time. I'm Roman Catholic, so I work at a Catholic church. But it's just a hobby, too, that I'm really interested in is music. It's something I did all throughout college and really kind of keeps me going. I just love music, so...
I remember that about you, George. George is also one of our Springtide ambassadors. You can learn more about our Springtide Ambassadors program on our website. And he has brought already a lot of insight into that community of young people. But yes, I remember music is like a hallmark of who you are and how you spend your time. I'm glad to be reminded of that of you. Joe, tell us more about you.
Yeah, my name is Joe. I'm from Southern California, and I'm 21 years of age. I'm studying marketing philosophy at Point Loma Nazarene University. And like George, I'm also very into music. I love playing guitar. I just picked it up within the year, so still very much a beginner. But I also love to read, hence the philosophy major. So you can pretty much always catch me with, a couple books in my backpack, probably. So. And I'm always willing to talk and have a good conversation. So
love it. I'm so pleased to have you as well. I'm an alum of Joe's school. So it's cool to picture him on that campus with his guitar and philosophy books, because I know that scene well. I studied philosophy there. So it's really great to have both of you. These guys literally just met on this recording. So they don't come into this conversation with a history as friends, but they're already finding some commonalities just as we engage this conversation. So I'm wondering, what do you guys think of when you hear the phrase mental health? What comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the general first image is kind of a personal emotional happiness, but I think that's kind of a shallow reading of mental health. I'd like to think it's something a bit more holistic, kind of an integrated wellness in a sense. Like, how am I kind of in relation to myself, in my body? How do I relate to others, and how do I see myself in light of others? I think that's kind of a definition of mental health, at least for me.
Yeah, for sure. Just to go off that, the first word I think of is stigmatism. So I feel like there's a lot of, kind of perspectives on mental health. But for me, I feel like it's kind of this generalization that everyone thinks that, it's kind of like you're having a weakness or something like that. But I think recognizing that is actually just an overall strength. And it's also I also think of my generation as well, because of the fact that we are the first kind of generation to be really, taking the reins of making it recognizable and making it kind of not really mainstream, but a lot of people are starting to know about it and be accepting of it. So,
oh, I'm really glad you said that, Joe, because that sets up a lot of our curiosities at Springtide about what makes Gen Z particular when it comes to the mental health conversation. So where do you get messages about mental health?
I usually get messages about mental health. It's frequently talked about on campus, and it's often seen as a strength to go to therapy or to recognize it. So I think often it's a lot of about social media. About like a lot of people just posting on their stories about awareness and stuff like that. It's mostly like where I'm getting it from. I also get it from higher ups as well, because it's something that is becoming more recognizable. So those are kind of the two main platforms.
I'm encouraged to hear that it's an open conversation on campus in that way, or that it's even like applauded as a strength that you said to seek out help, to seek therapy. What about you, George?
Yeah, no, I can echo that too. In my undergrad, it was really well talked about, at least in campus marketing. Therapy is available too, but yeah, so that was great for when I was at school. But since then, really a lot of messaging from social media again. I think that's kind of a trend in our generation as well, as where we pick up our messaging. But from a lot of nonprofit stories and things, of course, Springtide is publishing a bunch about mental health, but also different Catholic outlets, or again, friends sharing things on Insta stories or whatever too. But yeah, I think there's a lot of messaging on mental health, but then just kind of friends too. I'm lucky and have a good group of really mental health positive friends, so that's great support as well.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, the fact that social media is such a main messaging platform of where people are learning about mental health, I think is one thing already that sets Gen Z apart so much, because I'm unfortunately not in Gen Z, but still our parents, so I'm a millennial, but our parents' generation and those before them, I think part of the stigmatization that Joe alluded to comes from just that it was like, you don't talk about it. And so when we have social media campaigns or friends sharing posts, like you said, George, that just normalize that this is something to talk about and to have more knowledge in, to make it feel like you aren't so alone, that we're all dealing with mental health, that it's a reality for each person. Springtide is really trying to get at the heart of what we can do to make cultures, communities, institutions more mental health positive. And I feel like just acknowledging it already changes things, instead of making it something that's like secretive or shameful. If you were worried for yourself or for a friend with a mental health concern, who would you guys turn to?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. Maybe this is a guy thing, but like, I don't like turning to people for like actual help. Usually when something comes up or I'm feeling mentally unwell, so to speak, it's always just talking to friends like, man, like I'm not doing too great. Like I'm anxious about this, like life is a mess, whatever. Not so much to get actual help, but really just for kind of commiseration. Like you send a message in the group chat and you're looking for an oof in response. Like that's that's really the extent of what that looks like for me. But like I have seen professional help before, not for any extended period of time, but I have. So like if it really gets to that point, then yeah, I'll seek professional help. But another thing is I think sometimes it's tough to judge your own mental health. And this, I think, is part of what Joe's saying with kind of the stigmatism too, is like, well, like, am I actually unwell? Do I just think I'm unwell? Like, am I just normal? Is this something everybody deals with? Like, maybe I should just be quiet and not say anything. So it's kind of an all of the above, like cultural factors saying like, well, maybe I'm not going to ask for help, or I mean, who are we going to? Like, who do we really feel supported by? But yeah, I think that's kind of that.
Yeah, for sure. To go off what George was saying, it's definitely, I totally agree with George. And he says like, it's definitely a guy thing. Cause I feel the same way, I'm like, oh, I could figure this out. You just give me a little time and I'll be able to figure it out. But, I've come to realize that there's a certain point in time where even like kind of this whole, like just this masculine urge about, or like this masculine mindset of mental health too, I think plays a factor, I think it's something that we don't need to get rid of, but we also need to be, we need to recognize that. And we need to figure out when, is a good time to, be talking with friends, and a good time to maybe, maybe I should go to seek professional help, and that's just kind of like, again, up to us. But, I think it's a good thing to be talking with friends about it, because, sometimes you need that third party perspective so they could tell you, maybe, it's taking a lot on me too. You telling me all this stuff about how you feel, what's going on up there in your head. So I think it's good, like I said before, take that third party perspective to be like, you know what, man, you probably need to see some professional help, because, I can't just be that person you go to all the time, so.
Oh man, I love that, you guys, both of you, that you're, 23 and 21, and you're both saying, I've sought out professional help before, like, and the fact that you encourage friends to seek that out, that you recognize that, yeah, sometimes friends can commiserate, like George said, and there's help there, but sometimes there's a need for greater help or professional support. And so the fact that you can already say in your early 20s that you've sought that out and that you've recommended it for others, I think is tremendous. That's really encouraging for me to hear, just with you both as guys, frankly. I've had multiple seasons where I've been in therapy, and sometimes that's been virtual support, sometimes that's been in person. But I do feel like sometimes it's gendered, with where it's more normalized or acceptable for someone to seek out support or to talk about it with friends. So good on both of you. That's really encouraging for me to hear. And I hope it's encouraging to our listeners too, whether that's fellow young people or whether that's trusted adults that are looking to best support and accompany young people. So, okay, so you've talked to friends, you sometimes have sought out professional support. What do you guys do when you feel stressed out or anxious or down, or whatever that mental health need might be?
I usually, what I do is, again, I know I like try and listen to some music to calm me down. I'm sure George does as well, pick up the iPhone, go on Spotify or Apple Music, right, and just play your calming playlist or whatever. It kind of gets you in the, right mood again. I found that also, just kind of taking the time to process what has been going on. Also, it like helps a lot, but also, it could cause more anxiety at times. So it's kind of like just kind of finding that nice balance of doing things you like again, or process as well. So, George, what do you think?
Yeah, no, you're spot on the music thing. For me, it's either like listening to music. I play trumpet. I'm really trying to get some piano skills back too. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna mess. I'll just go play piano for a bit. But I mean, there's something about music psychologically that kind of tends to relax a little bit or something. But for me too, I'll go read. I'm also a nerd. I also have a bookshelf. It's okay. But I'll spend some time in prayer or journaling. Really for me too, I'll journal every now and then. Really when I'm anxious about something, there's something on my heart or mind. That's when I need to sit it out. I feel like all my problems are worked out on paper. So when it's actually something for me to sit down and work out, I've got a journal where I kind of process through a lot that way. But I mean, that's I think kind of a lot of it. But sometimes it is something to take your mind off of it in a sense. But then other times it is really to just work through it. How do you make sense of your emotions? How do you kind of process what's going on? So it's a both and on that.
Just a quick break to give a shout out. Springtide is able to offer this podcast because of donors who make our research and actionable insights possible. Hannah, a social worker, recently said, "Springtide provides excellent research into the lives of young people. Practitioners and those who interact with young people should read the State of Religion in Young People 2020 and 2021 reports to better understand the needs and perspectives of those they serve." You can see more of our current findings on our website, springtideresearch.org, where you can also make your own tax-deductible donation with a variety of giving options. Now, back to the episode. You guys are both in higher ed institutions. We talk a lot about connections. That's one of the driving themes throughout our mental health series. Who at your campus can you trust to talk to about your mental health?
Yeah, I think for me, my program's a little interesting, but sometimes like coworkers, I'll talk to people if I need help that way. I obviously workplace boundaries. I can't or don't or won't want to share everything with the people at my job. But yeah, sometimes there is that friendship and workplace relationship that way. But on campus too, it's again really just a reliance on people in the program, more so than any kind of institutional outside support. It's for me. I'm not often looking for problems to be solved that way. Partially maybe because I don't want to address things or whatnot, but it's really just looking for peer support for me most of the time.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. I usually try, there's counseling sessions we have on campus that I'm going to start taking advantage of. And just like George, I usually rely on people that I can pretty much trust. And of course that's, a very tight circle. Because it's a lot about, again, it's like the whole stigmatism. Even I catch myself, having that stigmatism too sometimes. And, but if it's like it's usually reliance on, I would say, on friends mostly. And just on myself too. That's another thing. I usually think I can handle it by myself, and sometimes I can't. That's when I go to friends. But I usually go with friends.
Okay, so another major core theme besides connections is expectations. And this can go in a lot of different directions, but I'm first curious, what are expectations within your academic world that are good for your mental health, that help you?
When you're getting pushed to be like the best person that to become the best person that you can be. I think a lot of that translates to academics, it translates to grades. It translates to people to not really necessarily impress, but to kind of live up to, or almost.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like a healthy way of kind of giving yourself some confidence, saying, I can do these things. And that's the good part about being in this academic space, in this academic environment. But again, there's that fine line where, you kind of push yourself too hard, you kind of process all the responsibilities that you have, all the classes that I'm taking. Oh, I'm taking, 18 units next semester, that's going to be a lot on me, kind of that overall. I'm sure as a grad student, George, that you feel that way too.
Yeah, I can echo that. My program, we're expected to balance community responsibilities. We live in community. We work full time on top of that, and then classes as well. And then maybe have a life outside of work if you get to it. But there are kind of expectations. So balance in one sense is we're expected to have some kind of balance in all these aspects of life in the program and stuff. But also that kind of expectation of balance and make sure you get all your stuff done and do everything really well. That's tough too. In undergrad too, I was exactly the same way, 18 credits every semester, 10 hours of band rehearsal on top of everything else. Everybody says yeah, when you get to college, you'll pick the one thing you're interested in, and then like all the minor things will disappear. No.
I'm an RA as well, so we talk a lot about burnout, and most RAs, they they have that job and then also like another job they do, and then sometimes they're like me, they're double majors, so they're taking 18, 20 units like George did. So they talk a lot about like trying to find those spaces to like kind of just check out almost of like kind of all your responsibilities and stuff. And they talk a lot about burnout, mental health, and kind of taking away this, like, again, the stigmatism of mental health. It's okay to seek help sometimes. I know like a lot of people that do so much, they often think they can just get through it, do it themselves. Yeah. Same thing, man. 2 jobs, 18 units next semester. So I'm definitely in the same boat as George was in his undergrad. But I think we definitely do a pretty good job of talking about that stuff and becoming aware of it.
The third driving theme that is showing up throughout our mental health research is purpose. And a lot of this is about, do you connect with something greater than yourself? But I also want to know purpose in the sense of just, does someone within your campus world make you feel like you matter? And is that, you guys have both mentioned friendships and the significance of those, but I'm wondering if there's a trusted adult figure in your campus life that has made you feel like you matter.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think so. Obviously, I could think back to college and certain professors and relationships there that I had that were really important professionally, academically, et cetera. And even here too. I mean, that's program I'm in does a really good job of supporting people. I mean, they're available as a resource for us to kind of work through. So I'd say that I am kind of grateful to have that adult support.
Yeah, for sure. I think of just 2 individuals specifically. There's one professor that just has been, since my freshman year, just been totally open to kind of give me the training wheels to get my career started and give me the resources to like be, again, the best version of myself that I can be from a career standpoint. And that's, of course, the business standpoint. It's not really, I declared the philosophy major like literally this past semester, so there's a lot to do with that. But I would say him for sure. And he always says, feel free to reach out whenever. It doesn't matter if it's over the summer, over a break. I'm always here to help. So he's definitely a person that, again, especially because I'm a first generation student, so I don't have a lot of connections in the business world and stuff like that. He's definitely someone that I look to and almost actually rely on to kind of get the ball rolling when it comes to internships and looking for like where I should start my career, And then another person is my boss, who's an RD, and he often makes me feel heard and often validates how I am feeling about certain situations and stuff like that. So those are kind of just 2 people that for sure, when you asked me that question, immediately popped into my head.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad you have 2 that you can mention. I know George alluded that there's several that have been significant for him, but our research has shown over and over again that the more trusted figures that a young person has in their life, the better outcomes they actually have in their mental health, whether that's feelings of loneliness or isolation or just feeling, again, like you matter. It really, the more figures you have that you can look to in the ways that you guys described, the better set up young people really are for a lot of these issues we're talking about, whether it's burnout or balance. Do you guys, I asked it, well, I mentioned it, but I'm going to ask it more specifically now. Do you feel like connecting to something bigger than yourself, however you would define that, whether that's, a community, a cause, a higher power, do you feel like that impacts your mental health or your mental well-being?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it does. but I said obviously I identify as Roman Catholic, so I do believe in God. But I mean, with that, I think religion obviously is a source of meaning for me and for many people. I mean, it's a frame for the world. How do you see those around you? How do you see the world and everything that's going on? But also that kind of does have other things as well. I mean, different traditions have different beliefs and values that kind of play out. So, of course, the Christian tradition has a lot to do with sin and redemption, love and mercy. But like Catholic guilt is a real thing sometimes.
Mhm.
I mean, how do we process guilt differently than shame? I mean, like a conscience is a good thing, I think, to recognize like, okay, like maybe I've done something wrong here. But like shame and like I am a bad person is different than saying I have done something wrong. I mean, I think so often we can internalize things like that. And I don't think that's something particular to my religious tradition either. But I mean, how do we balance kind of forgiveness of ourselves with kind of a desire to do better? I mean, personally, I love feeling useful. I love feeling like I'm doing good. And so when you say like movements and causes too, like I think that's hugely important to feel like you have something to contribute to the world.
Yeah.
But at the same token, like if we're feeling our value and meaning is coming just from doing things, then if we kind of fail and don't do things as well as we want or don't feel as useful, then that's kind of hard to come back to as well. And so that's, I mean, really leaning on, I mean, a Catholic belief in our creation in the image and likeness of God. Like, okay, like I am valuable for who I am and not necessarily for what I do, which is, of course, tough to internalize. But like that is what I believe, at least in theory.
Yeah. You touched on multiple places
100%.
there where it's helpful and sometimes needs reoriented. Those are really helpful examples. What about you, Joe?
I think it depends on what you connect to. There's always that kind of, you can connect to something that you don't even know is negative or negatively affecting your mental health. So, honestly, I think it depends. But for me, I think connecting to kind of like, for me, the reason why I love philosophy is because like the seeking of wisdom pretty much. And I love to seek wisdom. So I think that kind of gives me a sense of belonging and also like a purpose in this world. But I also think that like, every generation, whether it be Gen Z, millennials, whatever, they were all young at one point, and this was all something that they were trying to figure out too. What is my place in this world? What can I provide it? What is my purpose in this? Like, what is my purpose just being a human? And it's something that is kind of always the question that the younger generation is asking, whether it be, in 2021, 2022, 1960, whatever the year is. And it's a driving factor of how we think of each other and how we think of just ourselves individually. So if we find that positive thing to connect to, like in George's case, it's religion. I'm also a Christian. So I think sometimes it's that higher power, sometimes it's that seeking of wisdom. So as long as I think it's good, it's beneficial for your mental health. And that's something that I've learned to kind of do. That's honestly, I think it's better for my mental health is to sometimes question that, that purpose, because then you could rethink it and maybe like, oh, maybe it is negatively affecting my mental health, so yeah.
Wow. That was a really cool way to hear you describe a cause, a movement, a community all together in the sense of like the seeking of wisdom isn't just for yourself, but the ways that you're able to see it connecting you to like a larger pursuit of those who have gone before you. It gives you that sense of purpose and can impact your mental well-being. You both have brought so many gorgeous and illuminating examples in this conversation. If I'm curious to wrap it up, if you were doing this interview and you're like, hey, I want to talk to you about mental health, but the tables were turned. what question would you ask? Like, what question did I miss that you feel like is important in this larger mental health conversation?
I think one question that comes to mind is kind of like, well, actually, it's almost like kind of almost two questions. It's, what do you think is affecting the minds of the younger generation and also the older generation negatively mentally? And, where does it come from as well? Like, I would love to see a bunch of different perspectives about those two questions, and kind of seeing where it goes almost, because there's so many more perspectives to be seen rather than just me and George. So
awesome. Yeah. It'll be cool to have you guys hear the other podcast episodes and the ways that peers, some people a little bit older, some people younger, approach these topics as well. George, do you have any question that you would want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to hear these other episodes. But I think the one that I would add is like, and this is kind of something we talked about a little bit earlier, but like, how do you process your emotions? How do you understand them? I mean, on the one side, like, do you see emotions as good? Like, are they something that we need to kind of hang on to, or are they something to be kind of pushed away? Like, how do we really kind of feel anger? Is it something that we kind of sit with and work through? Or is it something that kind of sits on the back burner and simmers until we don't know what to do with it? Do you understand emotions best as words and kind of naming them? Like, this is anger I'm feeling. Or do you say, describing as shapes, feelings, colors? Like, this feels a bit sharp. Like, my chest feels a bit sucked out. And so I think different people process and feel emotions in different ways. And so as far as like communicating mental health and kind of emotional well-being, I think it's also important to understand, like, how do we process emotions within ourselves? How do we communicate them with others?
Oh, this is good food for thought. I'm like, did someone learn this in a therapy setting? If not, you could bring that to young people, George, if you end up like that's,
I'll do what I can.
A helpful reframe. You're right. Because sometimes people name things differently, describe things differently, or to get at the essence of it. Sometimes those other descriptions of how it hits your body, or how you would capture it in, like you said, a shape, color, etc. That's really wise. So I think your questions are fantastic, and I think it's a good place to end. I hope you guys as philosophers agree with me, actually, that sometimes ending on a question without a solid even answer can be really fruitful to keep the conversation going, because that is our goal with Springtide, that we're not coming with definitive endpoint answers, but we want to invite people into the conversation to feel like, what can they do to create more mental health positive environments, whether that is a place of higher education like we've touched on today, or whether that's a workplace, whether that's a religious group or after school community, whatever it might be. What can you do to positively shape that environment for the young people you serve? So thank you, George. Thank you, Joe. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I know our listeners are going to get a lot out of the ways that you guys found some common places as well. And I really appreciate your time today.
Likewise. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Visit springtideresearch.org to hear more voices of young people and to learn about the latest research and resources available in our Mental Health and Gen Z series. Springtide Research Institute is supported by donors who believe in the critical research and insight-generating work we do on behalf of young people. Make your own tax-deductible donation with a variety of giving options on our website today. Be sure to follow us on social media at We Are Springtide and interact with the resources in the Springtide series on mental health by using the hashtag Mental Health and Gen Z. Today's show was produced by Marta Abawaji. The audio was mixed by Andy Palmer, with original music created by high school student Christian Unthink. Special thanks to the 16 guests featured in Season 7 and to all the young people whose perspectives and insights make our research possible. Thank you for listening.